Just to say, I write quite heavy poems, I think, so I've tried to punctuate them with some less heavy poems. So this first poem is about going to the first house I lived in as a child with my mum and my ex-partner a couple of years ago. This is called Where We Used to Live. To Winston Close, the end of a council row. Me dandling on tiptoes over the high garden wall. I could lean over it now. Once the littlest left alone eating soil out back. Lorna tightrope walking the fence. The ambulance the time she slipped either side of the slats. The bloody seashell, her finger trapped in the hinges of the kitchen door. Just down from the stilted house where a woman strangled her daughter with a pair of tights and the posh guy Dad sold his car to, who did his girlfriend in with a brick. Mum in the dark for hours with just one candle and no coins for the meter. While we slept across the tiny landing in the coldest room with its lonely view out to sea. If you see people outside looking in, maybe taking pictures on their phones, they might be talking like this about the lives they once lived in your home. All the things that didn't make sense or go to plan. One day you too might pull up in a car outside. Remember who ate the soil, who sat by candlelight, who chased who around the garden with a mop or a carving knife. So hopefully a bit lighter, the next one. So this is a poem about my mum. It's about sending someone to meet my mum, and it's called Sending You to Meet Mum. I've told her to stay put, to just wait until you see her and say, Margaret. You'll know her by her beige anorak, by her rounded shoulders, hunched from years of stooping low over sinks of holy water, bleaching the everyday out of kitchen cloths made from old vests and knickers over bathtubs, swirling together the heavy fabric of 3 children and an absent father. You'll know Margaret by her restless, disjointed shuffle, forever trying to balance in her own gravity. And when you greet her, don't mind if a smile is shy, her teeth hidden. She doesn't like to show the gap her father left at just 13. Don't try to shake hands. She'll not want to. She'll probably give you a clumsy hug, turning her face away, or clutch your arm with hands so callous. As a child, I'd try and catch her still, for long enough to touch the cracks and marvel at the toughness of human skin. So the next poem is the story of my namesake, and her name was Leslie Ann Downey, and she was the youngest victim of the Moors murderers. And I've always kind of been aware of her story from my childhood, and I think it kind of coloured my perception of the world as a child, and probably my poetry as well. So this is a poem for Leslie. Leslie. Sometimes I tell the story of my namesake, of how my mother, when she was Nurse Margaret, met a young policeman in the hospital staff room, raw from listening to the evidence at Chester Assizes. The 16-minute tape they'd had to sit through, found in an old suitcase, station lost property, its ticket in the spine of a prayer book, how he sat and wept in his dark uniform, and she made him sugary tea. How I was named for Leslie, for her 10 short years, for her joy at the Ancoats Boxing Day fair, for her wide-eyed trust of the world, the tartan frock, pink cardi, and red shoes, for how she called to God for mummy. And I picture my mother sat there listening, her hand on his hand, the other on her belly, me not yet kicking. She said she wanted to bring her back. She wanted to bring her home. I'm going to read two poems now. I was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 40 a few years ago. I've done a series of poems about that. This is two of those poems. So this is in the voice of Bras, called Us. We hold everything in, everything up. That is, unless we're showing everything off, then we're plunged to half cup. Nothing but bravado, barely the areola covered up. Some can't run without us. We start them young in training sizes. But when we're not strapped on, we're just two fabric cups. No use for carrying much, costing a lot. But not for those who laugh at the idea of us or look on us with mistrust. And there are those for whom once we meant something else, now we hide a little of what they've lost. Okay. And so the other one is about when I was having chemo, my garden was the nicest it's ever been. It was just flourishing. I think it was obviously partly because I was tending it more. And I was quite taken by this idea of the fact that my cells were being, as my friend called it, carpet bombed. You know, I was being constantly kind of killed off in my cells, and the garden was flourishing. So I wrote this full garden, chemo summer 2015. With pesticide lungs, I breathe her in, a heady sea of sweet peas, tea rose, geranium, jasmine. Our fast dividing soils have found a way to germinate. She comes into being, perennial, I pass away. 2 years ago, I planted the wisp of the clematis, dreamt she'd creep up the fir tree. This year, she weaves a ladder of purple stars. And the honeysuckles have finally kissed the air with their sticky lips, and the raspberries blush and the herbs sing, stems grow wings and balls push up from everywhere. Only the rhubarb sulks under leaves that shield my sunshine baby skin. Now I must operate with gloves, work her cells without getting cuts. Her plagues are greenflies, slugs, a neighbour's black and white cat, the bindweeds that suffocate all it clasps, with its delicate white petals that ask to be kept. But I rip at the roots because its nature, if left, will grow and grow and grow. Sometimes I think of this, wonder what might be hibernating, waiting for a spring where it might seed again. Then I'm absorbed in all the green again, making a bird's nest from my falling hair. Okay, so my last two poems are about trips to and from the beach. The first one is a bit dark. The other one, the last one though, is hopefully not. Okay, so this is called Sea Road, summer of 85. Remember the night you and Lorne walked back this way, past the jangling cluster of amusement arcades, the bingo caller's muffled boom on the mic, the slot machine beeped and flashing lights. Then the long, quiet stretch of Sea Road. Remember the man who stopped his car, not once but twice, pretended to fiddle behind a torchlit bonnet, and you saw his open fly, his hand offering his cock like a fairground prize to two little girls in beach dresses. Lorne still chattering, heedless of the whisper in your 10-year-old throat. And you daren't look back or turn off the road. Then up ahead you see a shape in the dark, that same car, waiting, bonnet raised, headlights off, engine ticking, the dim glow of torchlight. But this time, he's upped his game, and now you are running, Lorne pulling you down this long, empty road, running like the dark is closing in behind you, like it's stroking the backs of your legs, running from the edge of something sharp and faceless until you burst into the hall, gasping out of breath, Mum shouting, What is it? both of you mute, moving along the road somewhere, the dark of a car boot, your mouths gagged shut. And then the last poem, I'm one of those people that likes talking to everybody and anybody at bus stops and etc. So I met this lovely woman when I was on a writing retreat in Wales. This is called Sharon on the Path. Thank you so much for listening. I was drawn to the shore today, dropped my bags and headed out across the high, tumbling lawn. Its deep blue hydrangeas bordering a perfect line of sea. And down the long winding path by the field, I found her, my shepherd guide, a lone dog walker who offered to show me the way to where pebbles and sand kiss water. And we walked and talked and trusted like the loose strife and blackberries flanking our way, that good things can bud from nothing more than chance and nature, can pass between two people when we amble down to the shore, the pendulum to and fro, back and forth, of lives shared between a spitty, chewed up wall. And now, here at this desk, I'm still holding something of it all. We'll keep it held. Remember us still and rooted to the sandy path, the wind running its palm over the tall grass, its rippling bow to water, the wet, bright joy of a dog. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you.